This is a Republic Notice. Happy Nationhood birthday, July the 28th, 2014. Judah Israel Constitutional Holy Covenant Nationhood birthday. 146 years of constitutional nationhood. 148 years as a nation since 1866. This is a Republic Notice. The title of this Republic Notice is called How Three Strikes Law and Alaskan Natives Are Related. How Three Strikes Law and Alaskan Natives are related. You know, these videos that I'm doing are very much marginalized, and it is influencing me to do more because I know the value of them as time goes on will be really, really beyond a price. But anyway, in other words, they're priceless. The Three Strikes Law and Alaskan Natives are related this way. Okay, in 1971, President Richard M. Nixon did what we call a Native Claims Act for Alaska Natives, where he allotted corporations, land, monies, constitutional resource wealth to go to the Alaska in corporate doctrine natives. Now, when I say in corporate doctrine, that means they are consenting natives that contract with the U.S. corporation. That's why they are in corporate doctrine. They're consenting natives. Now, the U.S. corporation had Richard M. Nixon grant them loads and loads of land and corporations and rights. It's called the Native Claims Settlement Act. Okay? The Native Claims Settlement Act. Now, these are yellow Mongoloid natives. If you come to Alaska, you will see a lot of Mongoloids, and they are called Alaskan natives. Now, they may have been on the land when it was purchased, but when it was purchased, it was 33,000 of them. Well, that was in 1867, so of course, there's more now, because we're talking about 140-something years, 149 or 50 years. So, of course, it would be more than 33,000 of them. Now, what we need to realize is that Native Claims Settlement Act by Richard Nixon that allotted all this to really leftover Russian Mongoloids, as far as I'm concerned. They left over Russian Mongoloids. Now, if they had had a claim or beef, their beef would have been with the Russians, not with the Americans, not with the constitutional citizens. But even if their beef was with the Russians, at this particular date in 2014, they're all in world debt contracts tracked by the U.S. corporation of 1871, which makes them consenters to debt and world debt, contracted with the U.S. corporation. They're contractors that consent to debt with the U.S. corporation for their trinkets, for their corporate, for all their plushes. Now, do they get a lot of plushes? No, the pale ones do. It's always the pale ones coming on top. You can go to the Native Claim Hospital, the Native Hospital in Alaska, and some of them say if you have 1/32nd blood of so-called native, then you're native, okay? But I want to get to the point and how this relates to the three strikes. How this relates to the three strikes is President Clinton, when he was in office, he did welfare reform, 3 strikes you're out, and the prison belly swelled up, the abortions went up, black babies was left alone while their mothers worked at Mickey D's and all this stuff, and they put them on a 5-year thing where their welfare was limited to 5 years to accommodate what Reagan had did, which was the preemptively nullified Amnesty Act, where it never was because the National Constitutional Caucus put their vote on it, and whether you like it, they're non-consenting citizens. And once they vote on something, it's non-consent jurisdiction. Even if they are clowns, even if they want to sell out blacks, even if they want to put their middle finger up to the suffering blacks, and I'm talking about the Black Caucus, they are made to serve them, because when they put their signature on anything, they put a signature of constitutional non-consent jurisdiction. So the Amnesty Act of 1986 never was. But I don't want to mix too much in this. I want you to focus on what I'm saying. I just wanted to get that out of the way to tell you that Clinton accommodated this influx of those under this preemptively nullified Amnesty Act. Clinton accommodated them and took the welfare out of the constitutional black infant mouth, took more of his wealth away from him, the cracker dust of his wealth he was receiving just to eat. Clinton reached in his mouth, put his fist in there, and took it out the baby's mouth, and then packed up the prisons with the baby's daddies. Now, what this have in common is Richard Nixon was impeached, and President Clinton was impeached. Now, this Native Claims Act and the Three Strikes Law, what they have in common is two impeached presidents that make these laws invalid, okay? The two impeached presidents that make these laws invalid. Now, also, again, the Black Caucus was there, and non-consent jurisdiction in the House of Representatives, whether you relegated them to a district or not, they're still national citizens' constitutionality. You can put your middle finger up to that, but the contract is cemented in the cosmic, platinum and gold, and you ain't going to overturn it because you can't overturn God's sovereignty and legal non-consent. You can masturbate all day long. You can trample like dogs and animals that you are on two legs, but they ain't going to overturn nothing. God's sovereignty and non-consent is written in cosmic placenta blood. 60 is the cosmic placenta. So, the Native Claims Act and Three Strikes Law have in common is that two impeached presidents tried to put forth these laws, and non-consent jurisdiction says this: even in corporate doctrines, in all their foolishness and trampling, and they're always trying to suck the life and blood out of the Constitution with their all-white senates and their presidents and their Native Claims so-called act to cover up the black constitutional citizens. What Nixon did was gave them a phony Claims Act because he was impeached. Now you want to tell me the Native Claims Act for these yellow Russian natives, that's mongoloid, is still supposed to be in effect under a president who was shamed and impeached out of office and said that he had become invalid as the presidency? And this is what you basing it on? A president that was invalidated and impeached? Is this what you covering up black wealth for and giving mining dividends and this and that and setting up all these native corporations where you put the palest native in there, the one with the most white blood at the top, to keep your white system pissed, patriarchal indoctrination, subjugation syndrome going, while the yellow natives is sleeping on the floor and has alcohol syndrome from the rooter to the tutor, okay? So, you know, this Native Claims Act of 1971 was with an impeached president. An impeached president. Bill Clinton, Three Strikes Law, you out, and welfare reform was with an impeached president. So I suggest you understand that Three Strikes Law never was. It was impeached and invalidated. And so was welfare reform, invalidated. A black woman can stay on welfare until her child gets grown, because Clinton is invalidated. Y'all did it with his Monica Lewinsky scandal. Y'all invalidated him. Don't blame me. The corporate doctors invalidated Nixon, and the corporate doctors invalidated Clinton. So the corporate doctors had no business touching blacks to transfer any, putting your fist in a black baby mouth, taking food out to try to feed South and Central America and Hispaniola. You have no business telling a black man he got 3 strikes out, because Clinton was invalidated, which means that law was invalidated. Let all of them with that 3rd strike out of them prisons now. You're holding them illegally in false imprisonment. False imprisonment with an invalidated president that was invalidated nationally on television in front of the world. President Nixon was invalidated. So stop using leftover Russians to steal constitutional natives, black, inherited wealth of Alaskan territory. And let me tell you something about calling Alaska a state. There are 49 states. Alaska is a territory. Yeah, they put a corporation in Alaska, but Alaska, from its inception, went straight to non-consent jurisdiction, because the purchase of Alaska was under non-consent jurisdiction, which means it had no slave history in Alaska. No slave history. It was non-consent jurisdiction from the purchase of it, so it went to non-consenters, which are the 3/5 who couldn't consent to go in the Constitution, be governed by the Constitution, or their legality. Because once the non-consenter in the Constitution, always, they had to inherit everything. And they inherited everything by non-consent jurisdiction and became legal, honey. Now this is the truth that y'all want to keep scratching your ass and head on, because your licey asses can't get around it. And as that lice crawl on your ass, you can scratch your ass all you want to, but the non-consent legal jurisdiction, blacks are the natives, are the Alaskan territorial natives. The corporate state, Dwight Eisenhower signed, he signed as a corporate state within the territory, not supreme in the territory, within the territory. And the territory is connected with black constitutional native citizens, black constitutional native citizens, black constitutional, the origin Judasian, not a hybrid Asian of what you call in corporate doctrine, yellow mongoloid imported from the Bering Sea or left over from Russia. Now, the goal is not to undo everything, but the goal is to let you know this is territorial wealth, and President Nixon, the impeached President Nixon, did the Native Claims Act, and this is how the Constitution sees that. Since y'all wanted to set up that because they're native, they're owed dividends of the pebble mines, of the red dog mines, of the oil, of the fish, of the this and the native and the housing corporation of Cook Inlet and this and that, then you consent that the Alaskan natives are owed something. So we are the Alaskan natives in the constitutional contract, Jack. And you consented that we owe that. And I'm telling you, not only constitutionally we owe that cosmically, because we inherit the oil cosmically. And that oil is Judasian oil. Okay? So you consent that the natives are owed something. And you parceled out all this, and then you put whites in front to call themselves natives and corporations to dividend. So you consent that the Constitution owns the natives. A lot of you even call the Constitution owns the native corporations. A lot of you even call them Alaska corporations, okay? But Alaska is married to non-consent jurisdiction, married to the non-consenter, okay? It's just as simple as that. So whatever Nixon gave them, yeah, by non-consent jurisdiction, we'll say, yeah, we're glad your corporate doctors consented that the natives are owed that. Now, since they connected with world debt and it was done under impeached president, let's call the real constitutionality of it in and say, yeah, we all owned all of that. We own all of that as constitutional natives. And we glad you understand that we own the corporations, we own the oil, the wealth, the land, the resources, the water, the dividends, and everything. And we glad you understand that we are the native claims, the constitutional. See, we didn't need an impeached president to tell us that, because we hold the constitutional supreme contract on it. But since you want to, under corporate doctrines, have an impeached president divvy out this to the natives in corporate doctrines and the leftover Russians, that looks mongoloid and minority, since we'll say this, okay, that's what you consent we owe, so you know we owe. But we're owed by constitutional contract, meaning the so-called Native Claims Act, we have the constitutional native body of law. We don't have an act, we have a body of law. See, ours wasn't given by a president after 1871. Ours was in there in 1867. Okay, not 1971, 1867. 1867 is a constitutional Native Claims Act. We didn't need an impeached Nixon to hand over anything to us. But since he did, then he acknowledging that that is our 1867 wealth. All of it. Not what they want to divvy out. All of it. Absolutely all of it. All persons born. All of it. Constitutional contract, land, and territory. And wealth. So it is said this day, July 2014, that Clinton 3 strikes law, you're out, is invalidated. The Native Claim Act of yellow Russian leftovers from the purchase of Alaska is invalidated because it was impeached. That means all of y'all don't have anything except Satan's dick to keep you satisfied and wait until that go limp. Right now, hold on to your Satan testicles and your satanic dick, because Nixon invalidated you as owing anything as leftover Russians from the purchase of Alaska, okay? And Bill Clinton invalidated blacks being cut off for welfare for any foreign Hispanics, because he was invalidated, and the 3 strikes law was invalidated. So you need to let all those you're holding in prison under 3 strikes law out, and get that satanic dick out of your mouth before you choke on it. This is Mariani from the House King David. Shalom.